Rabotai, yesterday we were speaking about some of the halachot of grinding pepper. We said you needed two variations because otherwise there would be an issue of tochen, grinding on Shabbat. Now, what happens with sugar? Sometimes sugar or salt, because of the moisture, they clump together. Are you allowed to kind of crumble it with your fingers? If you're allowed to do it to even things that weren't crushed, with two variations, with two shinuim, certainly you're allowed to crush a clump of sugar, and the same thing goes with salt, that you're allowed to clump it on Shabbat to bring it back into its granular form. And the question becomes, forget about that for a second. Salt. Is salt like other spices that, let's say, it wasn't ground? Does it need two variations or not? Hagon Zivchei Tzedek, the Rebbe of the Ben Ish Chai, writes, and he proves from the words of the Rashba, that salt is different than all other spices, and it doesn't need two different variations in order to crush it. Over there, all you need is one variation, either in a different bowl, or if you're using the back of the knife instead of the pestle. You don't need two, only one. Now, this only applies when the salt in the olden times wasn't crushed at all, or if it's, let's say, coarse salt and you're getting like natural salt and you have to crush it yourself. However, nowadays, when all of this, not all, but most of the salt that we get already is already ground, the halacha is just like by bishul, in bishul, achar bishul, you can't cook something after it's been cooked. The same thing applies to tochen. You can't grind something after it's already been ground. So over there, if it's already been ground and then it clumps together, you don't need any shinuyim whatsoever because of in tochen, achar tochen. You can't grind after grinding for the same reason. If you have bread on Shabbat, are you allowed to slice it very, very thin? Are you allowed to slice bread into tiny pieces? Yes. What about melechet tochen? Since the flour has already been ground, there's no tochen after tochen, so the same thing applies to the salt when it's already been ground into the state that it is today. Yom Tov.